Well, hey guys, today is going to be all about Coyote sets. All the different kinds of Coyote sets that we employ and run on our personal line. You know, everybody knows about dirt hole sets and T-bone sets. Well, we're going to show you all that, plus a wide variation of how we intermingle them and intermix them. And sometimes we'll steal from one set, combine it to another set. All about Coyote sets. And we're going to start off today. We just got to this farm and we're headed out. We've got a couple hundred acres to go explore. But right on this trail as we're coming in, literally we just left the trailer and we see a big old pile of scat. It's so big that we wondered if it was the homeowner's or the farmer's lab until we got to looking at it, and it's got hair all in it. So we're going to make our very first set right here. Stick with us. All about Coyote sets today. Okay, we're going to use this as the attractor because I guarantee every cow that comes through here is going to stop and sniff that. We're going to put this off. This is a two-track road, a farm road going out here. We're going to move it off so that hopefully a farm implement vehicle or a truck or somebody coming out here over the next few days doesn't drive over our trap. Hopefully they stay over here. But we're going to take a chance and use this location because it's obviously that obviously coyotes are coming right through here. And we're going to make a flat set with this T-bone. Is going to be our first set. Guys, if you recently watched our trap bag check video, you saw that I held up a pair of scissors. One of the reasons why, you can see, I am kind of grooming this area down so this T-bone I drove in here is a lot more visible. It's also creating a really nice pathway, an inviting pathway to this bone from this scat over here. Now we may end up moving it and placing that scat a little bit more to our advantage. But if you'll notice, I'm kind of shearing. It's almost like I'm mowing the grass here with scissors. And that'll really kind of makes it a lot more visible here from this area. Again, how we make our trap beds, we stick the garden spade in and just go around the point. The reason we do this, guys, again, we don't want to loosen up any dirt that we don't have to. If God provided us with firm dirt, and our ultimate goal is firm dirt, we want to keep as much firm dirt as we can in this process. There's a lot of guys that get in here and they just take a big old claw hammer or a shovel and they just go to town. They make a huge area here, and then they got to firm it all up. If it's already firm, I want to leave it firm. Okay guys, just from experience, I know that's going to be pretty darn close to the size I need. And if you look here, see how that hole is just about the size of my trap, maybe half an inch bigger all the way around. And what I'm going to do is push real hard, get a spot where my levers are. These are the two little ears that stick out. And all I'm doing, guys, is tracing a spot where those levers are going to sit. I want to dig out that little bitty spot for those levers. If you'll see, I've got a little indentation now. I can literally, of course, I'm dealing with Bermuda grass growing all the way across it, and that's pulling at it. But all I'm doing is taking out the little spot where those levers are. We'll clean up the Bermuda grass here in a second. Now my trap should be able to sit. See, it can sit all the way in there. Look at this. It will not wobble. My loose jaw wants to come up and move a little bit, but the trap itself is solid, and I don't have a bunch of loose dirt around there. So I'm going to take it back out, and actually I'm going to clean up some of that that Bermuda grass I can find what I do with my scissors. They already fell to the bottom of my bag. Again, scissors on a trap line, for me, provide a lot of uses. So all I'm doing is, now I've got access to those ear spots. We're going to have a lot of freeze thaw here over the next week. This is calcium chloride, pure ice melt that I bought from Lowe's. And I had to actually do a lot of research, guys, to find this. All these companies want to put additives and some kind of flavoring. I want 100% pure calcium chloride. I don't want any other smell to go along with it. This is a finned super steak with a retrieval boss built in. I can take it, stick it in the bottom of that conical hole. Again, when I take a garden trowel, put it in there, pivot around, that makes a conical hole. I'm going to put that finned super steak at the very bottom and pound it on in until I reach that first swivel on my chain. I want that swivel above ground. Knock it sideways, it'll come right out. Here's the cable that retrieval boss is attached to. I'm going to take my stake driver and poke that down into that hole I just created by driving that stake on down through there. Now everything's out of the way. I'm going to take my trap and make sure it's in there set really good. And then I'm going to get a screen cover. But these are KO Juniors from No BS Lures. First thing I'm going to do is set that night latch. You can buy these screen covers by the dozen or more. I'm going to make sure it sits underneath that power jaw, fold the loose jaw back over, and now it's protecting that whole pan. And when I say protecting it, guys, it's keeping dirt from getting underneath the pan and filling underneath that void, that hole underneath the pan. If that's full of dirt and everything, that pan can't depress because it's keeping it from depressing. We want that void so that when that dog steps on the pan, it can depress and fire the jaws. Again, look how solid this is. I haven't even done anything yet. So we're going to fill this in with some wax sand. We've been busy over the last week experimenting with wax dirt and dry dirt, and we've used peat moss, and we've used about everything, guys. But we're gonna set this farm today with wax sand. And the reason why we've experimented with sand versus dirt is we're able to go out and, again, go to Lowe's or Home Depot or something and buy pure sand out of the lumber department, and it's 100% dry. It's in a bag, it's kept indoors. We're going to find our pan and we're going to pack really good. Now, this sand has got a lot of wax mixed in with it, and it will shed water. And we have a lot of freeze thaw conditions here in the Midwest where we're at. But getting back to why we experimented with sand some, is that it's dry, and if we do, you know, if you can think of it back in June, July, to go out and get some dirt, let it dry on tarps and everything, it's really good, right? Now here's why another thing of using scissors. But we're always so busy fishing and hiking and canoeing and kayaking. We don't have time in the summer. Yeah, we've got time, we just don't make time. So we find ourselves like a lot of trappers that, you know, we wait to the last minute. All of a sudden it's after Thanksgiving, we want to go set some traps and we don't have any waxed dirt. Well, the dirt at that point in Missouri is wet because it's starting to rain all the time. And it's just a hassle to try to dry out dirt to make waxed dirt. So we went to Lowe's, got a 50-pound bag of sand that was pure dry. It's been inside for a year. Made wax sand with it. We'll have an upcoming video on how to do that. But guys, it worked awesome. And so this This is why this is the sets that we're starting to make with it. But again, watch how this flat set, and again, it's a flat set because we don't have, our visual attractor is out here, but we don't have a dirt hole or anything. We can take big chunks of grass here and just blend it in. This is literally going to make this set disappear. And I can learn from experience, the thing I'm looking for is not to cut my gloves. It's easy to do. Okay, this corn cob is already here naturally. I'm going to set it off here to the side there. There's another corn cob right here. I'm going to set it right there. All that's doing is guiding that that coyote is going to come here, smell. I haven't even touched that. I'm going to leave that there as an attractor because it's right in the middle of the road. That dog can see it from anywhere up and down here. Then the next thing he's going to see is this white bone here. We're going to stuff some lure down here, spray it with urine, and we'll be done with the set. Really flat, really unobtrusive, but this is a classic T-bone set that we employ in our line. Well guys, that was set number one. We're going to cruise right on down the road here a little bit, and you can see there's kind of an hourglass, if you will, that kind of forms up here by this little creek that crosses the road right here. And we've caught a couple dogs here before in past years, and we're going to stop and pound in a couple dirt hole sets right here. Right over here on the right, we're going to put in a traditional dirt hole set, and Gabe gets around and walks around, does a little bit of scouting off here to the left where that fence row, it's actually a creek, comes in to the left, and we're going to put in a step down trench right there on the left side. Okay, what we're doing here, guys, we're going to put in a really big flashy dirt hole set, and I'm using this big auger bit to help break up the dirt. Notice I'm using all this tuft of grass here as a backing. Again, hoping that something walking up and down this road is going to be on the road and then come over here to investigate. But this set right here is going to have a ton of eye appeal. It's going to be really flashy. So, you know, you can actually catch a lot of bobcats on a set like this too, because it's a little catch-all. I mean, you can get fox, coyote, bobcat. But we're going to use this to break up the dirt for us. Now you can buy a bigger auger bit. This is pretty small and it's still having a hard time going in this solid dirt until I get below the frost line. So I've just found it's better to use a smaller drill than try to force that big old 2 or 3 inch auger bit down through there. It doesn't take that much to break it up. And I do like my dirt holes deep. The reason I like them deep, guys, is because we've ran a lot of cameras over our sets over the last decade or more. And if an animal can reach down there and grab its bait or whatever it's after, it's gone after that. You want him here working this set, not doing a dine and dash. Especially if a raccoon happens to wander by. They're notorious for sticking their little dexterous arms down there and pulling your bait out. Okay, we've got that. We've got it 8 inches or so. Enough that a coyote cannot stick his snout down there and get it. So when we're done, we're going to come back. We're going to make it look like an animal is dug there. Again, I use my scissors a lot. Instead of ripping this all to shreds, I can cut it, and it looks a little bit more the way I want it to, but what we're going to do is make it look like an animal is dug here, guys. And he's buried his food, and he's going to come back later and finish off his meal. Well, coyotes are opportunistic. If they can steal from one coyote, they will. So we're going to make it look like something's buried their food there. And again, I start my beds, my trap beds. Notice I'm coming back about 8-9 inches. I don't get really particular with it. And I'm going to offset a little bit to the right because that dog's going to stand here. And hopefully we're going to guide him to put his foot right there on top of our pan. But again, we're going to stick the spade down in there and pivot around. And we're just going to do that process over and over. All of our trap beds are pretty much the same. It's just the attractant changes. Okay guys, we're going to take our spade again. You can see we got our trap bed, that conical hole that the jaws are going to rest against. And again, what I'm going to do is trace these levers. A little harder with that matted up grass. But these levers are the only thing that's keeping those jaws from going down in there. So once I pick this up and move it, now I've got a spot for those levers to fit down into. Again, I'm going to go about 1 inch deep, and I'm just pulling out that spot. Now this trap should fit right down in there. And I may need to dig a little bit more out on this side for those levers to get deeper. I want those jaws sitting just below the surface of the earth. But it's easy to control your depth of your trap by how much you dig out for these levers. It's almost like having a cookie cutter. There we go. So see how solid that is, guys? I mean, it's not moving. Now I can go ahead and set my pan down. So we've got the calcium chloride in the bottom. We've got a little bit of barrier of peat moss that's probably a couple years old. And then we've got our wax sand. So guys, this is Badlands Bob. Now obviously it's a dirt hole that most people think about coyotes. We catch a lot of cats on dirt holes. And you know, coyotes are not scared to come up and get around a cat either. I'm going to poke that's sheep's wool is what I put that Badlands Bob on. And I'm trying to poke it way down in the bottom of that hole. And it's got that scent on it. They can smell that, but they can also look down there and see that and give it a good misting of coyote urine here. If you watch our videos, how to catch coyotes and how to catch cats, you'll see almost every animal wants to come up and squirt on the back of a dirt hole. So there we go, guys. That set's done. That's your classic dirt hole. Okay guys, we're wrapping up digging our bed here in this step down trench. Now you can see I've dug a really flashy, huge, big dirt hole underneath this clump of grass. That clump of grass will serve as backing, so it brings an animal around here And then we made a big trench coming out here, and we actually may even bring it out a little bit here. But the reason why we've dug that trench and dug the hole at the angle we have is an animal to look down way back in there, and that's about a foot deep. I've spent a lot of time digging that back and making it go up underneath that clump of grass. That animal needs to step down here to get his foot in there. Well, guess what's waiting on him as he steps down into this trench? That's why we call it a step-down trench hole. Calcium chloride in the hole. Insulate it with a little super dry peat moss. And then set our trap. And this time, we want the jaws closing around from the sides of the trench. So notice I'm going to make my ears, I'm going to make my cutouts for my levers forward and backwards, 12 and 6, not 3 and 9. And the reason of that conical shaped hole is that's where our chain and swivels are going to go. We're just going to provide an insulating barrier of peat moss here. We're not going to bed or pack it in peat. This is more or less filling in some of the voids and holes here so I don't waste so much wax sand. It's more precious to me. Peat takes a long time to dry out, but it's relatively cheap. Okay, so there's my pan right here. Now I'm going to get my wax dirt. Okay. So those clumps are excess wax. What we've got here, guys, is a good coating of wax dirt. Wax sand, rather. And what I'm going to do is take a very, very light skiff of the native dirt. This is one thing you want to be very careful of. I see a lot of guys on YouTube talking about, hey, here's how to freeze proof a set. They put a little bit of wax dirt or wax sand down, and then they just cover it with the native dirt. Well, they must not be trapping where we are, guys, because I'm telling you, that little bit of native dirt I put in there is full of moisture. That's why it's clumped together. See all those little bitty clumps all over the place? That's not held together with wax like my sand is. That's held together with moisture, God's moisture, and that will turn to ice. And that little bit of skiff there will be frozen like a pancake tomorrow morning. That's the reason I put just such a little tiny bit. It won't be enough that an animal's weight can break through it, and my 4 coil traps can break through it on the way up and catch that animal's paw. You put much more than that, I just want it to look natural. Put much more than that, and you're just got a big frozen pancake there, and your trap may be willing to work underneath it, but it can't come up through that frozen ground. So be very cautious of that. So we're just going to, in fact, I don't like that there. What we're going to do, guys, is we're going to start guiding this animal. Now, a good step down trench should guide as much as, it should do a lot of the guiding for you. Let's do this. Let's use my stake driver. I just didn't like how open it was over here on this side. Now we've got a natural spot where if that animal wants to look down that hole, look around, there's corn cobs sticking everywhere up around here. So if you look at just that, you go, gosh, that looks unnatural, until you look around and see them everywhere around here. So now we've got a good spot for an animal to step. And we'll get rid of all this dirt. The thing is, when you dig a big old huge step down trench, you're going to have a lot of dirt. Well guys, we're going to pick up and move to the far side of the property right now. You can see the fences come together to make a really nice little intersection. We picked up a coyote or two off this place right here before, and we're going to slap in one of our favorite sets right now. So guys, if you remember the Catching Canines video, it's been really popular, big hit. I think we're approaching 50,000 views on that one or not. But Gabe, the guy running the camera right now, was little bitty, and he's the one that I mentioned that got froze out on that time, and Matthew, my oldest, was with me, and we were standing right here in this exact spot, and we had a really ticked off coyote at us, and there were horses right over there, and we talked about the fact that this landowner really appreciated us coming in, and I'm sure the guy that owns the horses did too, because we took some really mean, nasty coyotes off this spot, and this is one of the locations that we did it in. So we're going to punch in another favorite of ours. This is called a triangle of death, and the way that we do it a lot of times is I'll bed my trap. There's a trap here somewhere, I think, but there it is. So I'll bed my trap right here just in the middle of the ground. Then what I'll do is I'll punch 3 triangle holes right around it, right around this bed. And so I'll just drive it in right here. And nice thing, I usually use a stake driver. Now I've got this auger bit. I may drill one of them with an auger bit. But they don't get any bigger than that, and there's no more of a visual attractive than that. So we'll give you a close-up of this set here in a little bit, but literally it is just driving 3 holes. And we're still dealing with freezing dirt, even though it's later in the day. But 3 holes straight down. And we're going to drop a different sit in each one of those holes with a trap right here in the middle, blended. That's a flat set, a triangle of death, one of our favorite sets. My buddy Scott Hesterly is the guy who kind of showed me this set. And you talk about fur catching. I mean, that's all he's got is he's got a triangle of death out in front of his house. He lives out in the country. And 5 nights in a row, he caught four coyotes and a bobcat off the same triangle of death 5 nights in a row. So really, really good set, guys. I know you're going to look at it and go, there's nothing to it. It's a fur catching set, I'm telling you.
Man, this farm looks cool from up here.
So guys, I dropped a little C4, which is from Sawmill Creek Lures. C4 down this hole right here, there. I put a little Caven's Yodel Dog over there. And we'll find something else. How about some Coyote Special 200 Hawbakers? So 3 different scents in 3 different holes. Here it is, guys. There's nothing there, is there? I mean, literally. You talk about the ultimate flat set. There's my trap right there. There's a punch hole there. There is a punch hole there. And there's a punch hole somewhere about there. That's it. That's the set, guys. You would not believe how much fur that catches. Okay, guys, sometimes we combine sets. The great thing about showing you 5, 6, 7 different sets or so, you can take and mix and match and make your own variety of these things. So this is a classic T-bone right here. We're just going to hammer this sucker down Notice that I've picked this spot that's got a big clump behind it. Kind of going to serve as backing. But any dog coming up and down this way is going to be able to see this white bone here. Also, there's a ridge going that way, so it kind of comes and brings them together right here. So here's our classic T-bone. Then we're going to put our trap bed about right here in the center of this. And then we're going to combine this set with the triangle of death. So a triangle of death, we just take our stake driver and we make 3 punch holes around. Well, this one, we're going to use this as one of our punch holes, and it's more of a visual attractant. I can go ahead and drive that stake driver on down in there, clear off a little bit of leaves here. So now I've got a hole there. It's about 10 inches deep or so. It's that deep. And I'm going to punch one in on this side. And we're going to put our trap bed right in the middle. And what that's going to do, guys, is we're going to drop a Q-tip with some lure right down the middle of this hole. Just like that. We're going to drop a Q-tip with a second lure down this hole. Then we're going to put yet a third lure on this T-bone. And what the whole idea is to get that animal to shift its feet, go back and forth with this trap bed right in the middle of it. So let's come back and show you the finished set in just a second. So again, we've got the T-bone there as an attractor. I'm going to take, this is actually beaver caster lure, which I actually, believe it or not, use a lot on my Coyote line. And I'm going to stick it down in there in that sheep's wool. Maybe put a little bit on the underside of that lip there. It's a very strong lure. It travels a long ways. And what we're going to do, guys, here is we're just finding our punch hole again. I'm going to take that Q-tip. We're going to dip it in. This is Dobbin's Perfect. It is a bobcat-based gland lure. Notice we're going to coat that Q-tip. We're just going to shove it right on down in there, and it's going to fall to the bottom of that hole. Then we're going to find our other punch hole. There it is right there. I'm going to wallow it out just a little bit. I'll leave that there so I know where it's at. This is Jeff Dunlap's Lightning in a Bottle. I'm going to stick it. It's kind of a skunky base lure. See, I'm putting a whole bunch on the end of that Q-tip. We're going to stick it in that hole and shove it on down until it drops down in there. I'm going to go ahead and help it on down in there. So now we've got Lightning in a Bottle from Jeff Dunlap, Perfect from Charles Dobbin, a cat lure, and then we've got some beaver caster on the back of that. So, in fact, I can spruce it up a little bit more, give it a shot of Coyote urine, and now we've got a GSTOD. Greg Stagg's Triangle of Death. We got a T-bone and a little bit of a modified Triangle of Death there. Okay guys, we just got through putting the GSTOD, the Greg Stagg's Triangle of Death, up there. And we've came up over this hill, and you can see there's just a nice draw coming down through here, leads into a little bit of a creek. And the landowner actually owns on that side as well, but it kind of pulls down, almost hourglasses into this spot right here. Gabe just went over there to check out that area, but there's a little bit of a trail, comes right across that creek, and then it turns and parallels that creek going into the woods through there. And so we were thinking about maybe putting a flat set in, and if you notice, right on this trail, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a trail right here. And then right here, there's a chunk of wood, and we use cow patties a lot for flat sets. Just put a punch hole in underneath the cow patty. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to use that chunk of wood right there. We're going to punch a punch hole right there, and then we're going to blend a flat set right there. So here's the before, and we'll come back and show you the after here in just a second. Okay guys, that is the only difference of how this area is going to be where I found it naturally, is that punch hole right there. And let's get a close-up look of it here. My end goal is for this area to look just like this, with the exception of that hole that's underneath that log, which I'm going to drop a Q-tip with some lure in it, and I will spray that little log with some urine. But other than that, it's right here on this trail, coming from here, paralleling this creek, going up here, and there's a couple trails that go off that way. But that's how this set is going to look when it's done. The only thing I've added is a 1/2 inch, or 1 inch rather, hole underneath that log. This is going to be a flat set. Okay guys, again, this is why I use scissors so much. They blend a set in so well. So when you're making these flat sets and you want them to absolutely disappear, get you a clump of grass, cut these shavings off. Guys, that trap is gone. Almost looks exactly like it did before we started, with the exception of there is a punch hole right there now that has lure in it. Well, I've been putting that flat set in over there. Gabe is putting yet another variation in, a double dirt hole set. Now sometimes you'll see here there's one dirt hole and there's another dirt hole, 2 dirt holes with a backing up against the log. He may bring that forward just a little bit, but sometimes you can guard one hole, leave the other one open. We've played around with this before. Sometimes we'll guard this hole and lure that hole, and not lure this hole that the trap is in front of. It just depends on how smart a coyote you're dealing with. And sometimes, like Gabe set his trap right in the middle between these 2 holes, but we will play around with variations of this double dirt hole set. We'll lure one hole, not the other one. Sometimes we'll guard the hole that's lured with a trap. We'll just play around with it, but that's another good variation that you can play around with smart old dogs. And actually, the biggest dogs I've ever caught has come from this set right here, and playing around with luring a hole and not putting a trap in front of it, and different variations like that. So that's what Mr. Gabe is doing right here. Okay, here's Gabe's finished double dirt hole set. Again, a lot of variations you can do with a double dirt hole set. Gabe ended up putting the trap right in the middle between the two dirt holes, but we like this set because it gets a dog to shift back and forth, and he'll work his feet quite a bit. And you can see that he guided him with different sticks up here. Trap is open right there in the middle as the dog goes back and forth. 2 different scents and 2 different holes. Sometimes we'll lure one, sometimes we'll lure the other. Sometimes we'll guard the one that's lured, sometimes we'll guard the opposite one. This one, the trap is right in the middle between the 2. Okay guys, so in showing you all these sets, we would be remiss if we didn't go back and show you the classic urine post set. Now, everyone makes a urine post set completely differently. You can have it standing straight up, you can have it leaning away. I like to point it out this way. I actually found this limb right behind me in the woods. I brought it out here, I dug a hole and put it in here, And what I've done, guys, is I'm trying to kind of guesstimate where this coyote is going to stand to take a leak on this thing. So, you know, we've actually thought about doing a separate video on urine post sets, and we still may do that, because every time we take our 2 dogs out, they've got to pee on anything that's new in the neighborhood, which is just, I mean, light bells go off as a coyote trapper. So we put a brand new stick here, and we're going to put some, we're going to doctor it up with urine here a little bit. We're going to bury and blend the flat set here where I think a dog would stand to pee on it. We'll show you the finished set here in just a second. Once again, guys, you can see just how much we use scissors on a trap line. You'd never think that a pair of $2 scissors from Walmart would come to be so valuable in catching coyotes and bobcats. But it just does a number on blending in a flat set and making it disappear. Now, notice we've kind of built up a little bit of a walk through here. I did that on purpose. Then what we're going to do is take this coyote urine and saturate that, and hopefully another dog will come through here and want to pee on that and let him know that he is boss, not this dog. Well, guys, thanks for being with us today as we set this brand new farm. You know, I think we've showed you 7 or 8 different sets today that you can use on coyotes. Take those, mix and match them however you want to. There's an infinite number of possibilities once you start blending the combinations together. But this will get you off and running if you're brand new to trapping, brand new to going after coyotes. Try all these different sets. They all work for us, or I wouldn't have showed them to you. I wouldn't have put them in. We wouldn't have wasted our time on it. So good luck, guys. Let us know in the comments how you do, and good luck on catching some fur out there.